cuatro, tres, two, one. People of the world, hello and welcome to Marketing as a Foreign Language. Today on the show are Entrepreneurs Narcissists. Strike a little too close to home. LinkedIn gets more like Facebook. Snapchat, the business of social. Twitter to start testing voice direct messages. What's that all about? How Twitter survived its biggest hack and plans to stop the next one. TikTok files for an injunction against pending Trump app ban. And last but not least, 5 predictions for marketing in 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me for the show. It begins right this very second. If you're joining us for the live show, oh yeah, it's very live. You can tell because of how it is. 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just go to YouTube, punch in Marketing as a Foreign Language. Boom. Send it rising. We'll also get you there. Subscribe. Check us out for the live show. Leave a comment if you want me to answer a question or you just want to troll me. Are Entrepreneurs Narcissists? Entrepreneur.com. All links to all descriptions all links to all articles in the description. Joel B. Carnival is the Entrepreneur Leadership Network contributor of this particular article. The 21st century, he writes, has ushered in a new era of work, one in which an increasing number of individuals are leaving or refraining from entering entirely the traditional workforce and opting instead to be self-employed. This trend in self-employment career paths has led to the development of incubator and accelerator programs designed to provide support for startups shaped emerging industries such as the recent co-working space movement, and has prompted business schools to develop entire curriculums tailored to those interested in starting their own business. What explains this increased interest in self-employment? Perhaps it can be attributed to the fairly recent emergence of several highly successful entrepreneurs, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, for examples, who have become iconized? Wow. Don't see that word every day. As the epitome of success, or maybe it's due to changes in the preferences and values among recent generational cohorts or technological shifts in the nature of work that make it easier than ever to pursue self-employment as a viable career path. Before we get into the narcissism bit, I would argue that the reason why many people are interested in working from home or entrepreneurship is because it turns out this 9 to 5 is largely nonsense. And it's largely nonsense because, adulting. I get 60 years ago when you literally had to be there. When the second you left was the moment you could no longer do the job. And there are obviously jobs like this nowadays where you physically have to be standing in that location. But there are many, many jobs, mine included, where you do not. And for us to take away this sort of evolutionary technological advancement, amazing, incredible freedom would be the most ridiculous thing ever. So it makes the most sense to me in the world that the vast majority of people that are interested in entrepreneurship nowadays, yes, there are some that want to be the Jeff Bezoses of the world, but you do have to also understand that there's a big difference between entrepreneurship and I must be a billionaire or else. There's a big difference between I have enough money to retire, right? You make $3 million at 3% in a CD, you're set for life. There's a certain kind of person that goes beyond that like $2, $3, $4, $5 million mark and decides that, you know what, I'm not done. I want to make billions of dollars. And they just continue forward. That, whatever that is, like billionaire desire and entrepreneur are two pretty much, they're not diametrically opposed, but they're very different things. So if this article is going to suggest that, the guy who wants to start his own plumbing company is inherently a narcissist, well, then this article is stupid. if they want to suggest that, someone who can retire can go do whatever they want and chooses to continue to amass wealth, assuming that they don't altruistically deal with that wealth, then perhaps there is a case. Moving back to the article, but there are other explanations for why individuals decide to start their own business. One recent area of study, for example, has focused on the role psychological disorders play in the decision to become self-employed. Really? While several psychological disorders have been speculated over the years, one in particular that is often considered to be a potential contributor to the decision to becoming self-employed is narcissistic personality disorder. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the NPD constitutes, quote, a pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration, and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts. Well, I will say this. It would be very sad if this were true. And the reasons why include anyone you've ever worked for, ever in the history of ever, at the very top of that organization, if they're an entrepreneur, would, you know what I mean, would be a narcissist. And I'm sure there's some of you listening to this are going, yeah, that's exactly right. That is 100% correct. That is pretty sad and funny because it's a little bit true. I think the article is saying here that it's considered to be a potential contributor to the decision. Okay, it's considered to be a potential contributor. Well, that's hard science there. While research suggests that NPD, which is this narcissistic personality disorder, may inhibit individuals' ability to function optimally at work, many of the qualities associated with it may in fact be conducive to self-employment contexts. After all, starting one's own business often takes considerable confidence, tolerance for risk, and an inability to articulate a compelling vision. Qualities highly narcissistic individuals tend to have in spades. Interested in understanding the link between narcissism and self-employment, my colleagues and I conducted a study recently published in the Journal of Business Research. Okay, so buckle up. Narcissists apparently are more likely to be self-employed than non-narcissists, whether in a traditional employment setting or in a gig economy, blah, blah, blah. That is, if you're like most people, you probably contemplated whether you possess the qualities or skills needed to thrive in a particular career path or employment context, and whether the context is capable of satisfying your particular needs. This is what's known in the organizational literature as person-environment fit, and it can help explain one of the primary findings of our study. Narcissists are more likely to be self-employed than their non-narcissistic counterparts. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been a business owner now for a little bit over 4 years. I owned a real estate, like a rental company, you could say. But that's easily thrown into like the side hustle category. We bought and sold, I want to say like 4 or 5 properties. Wasn't my full-time job. And I was the director of operations for a company called Advise Media Group for quite a while. And I was a teacher before that. So I've definitely been employed for longer than I have been a business owner. So I wonder, obviously narcissism is a bad word. I mean, let's be frank about that. And calling, people who start their own company narcissists is kind of ridiculous. But let's read on. Let's try to understand where they're coming from here. Narcissists are consumed by fantasies of grandiosity and will often seek out situations that can provide them with attention and admiration from others. For narcissists, self-employment may be seen as a viable source of such narcissistic supply, given its increasing allure as an admirable and individualized career path. I really wonder what Joel B. Carnival. I think he's an employee. No, he's an assistant professor. There you go. He's an assistant professor of management at Syracuse University. That's just so funny. I wonder if he were an entrepreneur, how this article might be a little bit different. Not only are narcissists likely to find self-employment desirable, but given their high level of self-confidence, delusional sense of superiority, and tendencies towards risk-taking, they are likely to believe they possess the skills and abilities needed to be successful in such contexts. He goes on, narcissistic males are more likely to be self-employed than narcissistic females, apparently. Narcissists who are self-employed are no more successful than narcissists who are traditionally employed. Interesting. So nowadays, there is no shortage of business gurus and self-proclaimed influencers willing to extol the benefits of self-confidence, optimism, and maybe even a bit of self-love as essential qualities of entrepreneurial success, yet merely believing you have what it takes to be successfully self-employed, while perhaps necessary, is likely not a sufficient condition for being successful in the highly uncertain and dynamic realm of self-employment. For instance, the results of our study suggest that although narcissists might believe they have what it takes to be successful in self-employment contexts, they are actually no more successful as measured by level of income than narcissists who are employed in traditional working environments. Wow. This is quite the article. So what do you think? Are entrepreneurs narcissists? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Do you think they are? Do you think by and large they are? Have you ever worked for a narcissist? Let me know. USAtoday.com. LinkedIn gets more like Facebook. Snapchat, the business social network, adds more social features. This is from Jefferson Graham. Again, USA Today. LinkedIn, the business social network, is going to start looking more and more like Facebook. LinkedIn, which has 700 million members, is introducing a new redesigned look to its website today and introducing stories. Everybody's doing stories. The ephemeral posts first popularized by Snapchat and then exploited by Facebook and its Instagram. The changes rolling out today come as the business network, which once was just a place where people posted their resumes and looked for connections to network with, has evolved into a more robust social network of people who use it for more than just job seeking, according to the company. Quote, "We're seeing people share more and more and comment more," says Karan Prasad, LinkedIn Vice President of Product, who added that users seek, quote, "a stronger sense of community on the platform." He calls the evolution a, quote, "rebirth of LinkedIn as a social network where people want to form a community and have conversations." For stories, LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky admits on a company blog post that they're not new, quote, "but we took the time to understand how stories fit in the professional context and found that in the COVID world, the 24-hour update that doesn't stick to your profile lets us replace the water cooler conversations with which we all need from time to time." So LinkedIn making a few changes. LinkedIn added a new open to work tab to help the suddenly laid off employees find new gigs. Searches being added to LinkedIn pages to find people, events, groups, and content. When asked about the resemblance to Facebook, Prasad said LinkedIn's goals are the same: to be a place where the business community can communicate with one another. So some changes here with LinkedIn. You know, I can't really blame LinkedIn for wanting to, at a bare minimum, adapt with the times, can you? They're adding search features, they're adding stories. It's just what works, you know. Whoever invents it, many people are going to steal it. They're going to go ahead and use what works. So not upset about that in the least. Twitter to start testing voice DMs. Shout out to my DMs. Chris Welch, TheVerge.com. After rolling out audio tweets for iOS in June, Twitter is now experimenting with the idea of letting people record and send voice messages through direct messages. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, would require massive server infrastructure, which I'm sure they have. But that's a lot of data. Audio. Have you ever tried to, store a lot of audio on your computer? Alex Ackerman Greenberg, product manager for direct messages at Twitter, let me know that the company will be testing voice DMs soon. Brazil will be the first country included in that test. He shared the news through a 20-second voice message. We know people want more options for how they express themselves in conversations on Twitter, both publicly and privately, he said. Similar to voice tweets, voice messages have a bare bones, simple interface. That's just a play pause button, and the sender's avatar pulsates as the message plays. The product team designed an inline recording experience to make it easier to send these messages as part of the natural conversation flow. All right, so new stuff coming out from Twitter. Will I be using it? No. Could you use this in a business context? Maybe. I suppose. I mean, if you have a bunch of Twitter followers and you want to communicate with them in perhaps a different way, if they want to hear the sweet dulcet tones of your baritone voice, then yes, perhaps you could send them a DM on Twitter. It could be interesting for the resharing of content. So say, for example, you're a celebrity and someone reaches out to you and you DM them back with a voice message. They could take that and share that, obviously, right? They could just record it and share it to the world. So despite the fact that it's a direct message, it certainly isn't private. That's a guarantee. So what will happen with audio being shared? I would assume that with direct messages like this, that we're going to see a lot of what was supposed to be private, or people didn't quite realize that it wasn't public messages being shared. And we're going to see a lot more audio clips moving forward. How Twitter survived its biggest hack and plans to stop the next one. It's been a while. It was July 15th when Twitter absolutely fell apart. By memory, if I recall correctly, it was like a high schooler who basically got information and then enough information, used that information to get more information to impersonate Barack Obama and friends on Twitter, asking for Bitcoin, which is ridiculous. July 15th, according to the article, this is a Wired.com article. Again, all links to all articles that we read from in the show are in the description. At first, just another day for Parag Agrawal, the chief technology officer of Twitter. Everything seemed normal on the service. T-Pain's fans were defending him in a spat with Travis Scott. People were upset that the London Underground had removed artwork by Banksy. Agrawal set up in his home office in the Bay Area in a room that he shares with his young son. He started to hammer away at his regular tasks, integrating deep learning into Twitter's core algorithms, keeping everything running and countering the constant streams of dis, and mal information on the platform. But by mid-morning on the West Coast, distress signals were starting to filter through the organization. Can you believe it? Hey, Michael Bindrup, how's it going? We have a friend. Hey, Michael, how's life? Thanks for the comment. Many employees passed the message on to the security team and went back to business. Someone was trying to phish employee credentials, and they were good at it. So shortly thereafter, several Twitter accounts with short handles and more became compromised. So-called OG usernames are valued among certain hacker communities because it's just cool to knock them out. So anyway, Twitter gets hacked. We all know that. Chaos ensues. Yep. Twitter has faced widespread account takeovers before. Jack Dorsey himself lost control of @Jack a little over a year ago. Those incidents, though, have predominantly stemmed from vulnerabilities in third-party apps, or in Dorsey's case, from a so-called SIM swap attack that transfers someone's phone number to a hacker's device. The hack of July 15th was different because it affected Twitter's own systems and because it's alleged. This article, there are some articles that just bounce around because of ads, and because its alleged mastermind was a Florida teen. So according to charges filed by the Justice Department and the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office, the scheme was orchestrated by Graham Ivan Clark, a 17-year-old kiddo from Tampa, taking down Twitter, who had previously specialized in scamming people on Minecraft. Wow, he moved right on to Twitter. Good for him. Yeah, so he would do just things like, hey, I work for Twitter. I can claim. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we've covered this before in a previous episode. But what's Twitter gonna do about this in the future? They're gonna try to stop it, obviously. So a phishing attack like this, basically, you have to talk to your employees about giving information away. If someone can get just the bare bones information and use that to create like a phishing chain where you can get more and more information, in the end, it's not really a technological vulnerability. It's more a vulnerability it's a personnel issue. So will Twitter get hacked again? Yeah, I think they will. Will Facebook get hacked? Will we not know who is tweeting from the president's account in the future? Yeah, I think it's going to be all up in the air. I think by and large, the information is going to be accurate, but we cannot for a second assume that the person that is tweeting is actually the person in question. Michael Bindrup writes, yeah, they need to give that kid a job. And I would agree with that. I think that that kid needs a job in security. He should be an anti-phishing expert, as far as I'm concerned. Next article, TechCrunch.com. TikTok files for an injunction against pending Trump app ban. This from Danny Crichton. TikTok's fight with the Trump administration doesn't yet appear to be over, regardless of what the deal that was signed earlier between the parent company ByteDance and Oracle says. So we've gone back and forth in this. It's very weird. I read an article just recently that said, oh, for sure, we're good. Oracle is buying it with Walmart. And by buying, I mean leasing temporarily. But the back and forth continues. Earlier today, the company filed a motion to stop the Commerce Department from enforcing a ban against the popular social app. That ban was supposed to come into play on Sunday, but after the signing of the ByteDance Oracle deal, it was delayed by a week, with additional delays expected as the deal closes in the coming weeks. If a TikTok stock comes up, I'm on the fence, man. I really don't know if it's something worth investing in. I've got my doubts. Now, though, the company seems to be taking a more aggressive action to stop the government. It's perhaps looking at the plight of another app, WeChat, whose users successfully argued for an injunction in San Francisco federal court this weekend that blocked the app from being banned on Sunday by the Commerce Department. Unlike in WeChat's case, where the lawsuit was brought by American citizens rather than its owner, Tencent, TikTok itself filed its lawsuit against President Trump and the government, originally filing its lawsuit on September 18th, according to court records. Hey, man, all bets are off until November, and then even after that. So I would not pursue even spending money on TikTok advertising for businesses at this point, given what I know. Now, I'm researching this stuff every day. We're talking about this on the show all the time. So I know probably a lot more than most users do at this point. But I'm very skeptical about TikTok's future. There's a lot of I don't know, wins in the opposite direction, let's say, regarding their potential success. Forbes.com, 5 predictions for marketing in 2021. Matt Rammerman is a Forbes Council member, and he writes, it's late summer in 2021. The COVID vaccine has been widely distributed. And businesses and consumer behavior has returned to a new normal. The recession isn't over, but things are looking brighter. Consumer spending and jobs are recovering. Oh, it's late summer in 2021. He's predicting things. Okay, so this may be wishful thinking because none of us really knows what will happen, but he's an optimist. So he's saying two-way conversational marketing will be here to stay. SMS, while still useful and ubiquitous, is very 2020. That's texting. I expect that rich communication services, known as RCS, will gain greater traction, and leading brands will deploy it at scale. Rich communication services. Let's dive into what the heck he means by that. You ever heard of that acronym, RCS? Is RCS poised to overtake SMS? That's how you know we're live. Bless me. Oh, thank you very much. At the rate of speed technology is changing how we interact, no CMO can think that any platform in use now may be the first choice for their target audience in the near future. Case in point is SMS. It's part of daily life and has become such an ingrained way to communicate, to the point that most marketing strategies include SMS campaigns. Yeah, if you're a Fortune 500. There is an up-and-coming communication platform, however, set to change our focus, rich communication services. As Digital Trends wrote last year, formed by a group of industry promoters in 2007 and brought under the wings of the GSM Association in 2008, it envisions a platform that's significantly more rich and capable than today's SMS. Labeled as Text Messaging 2.0, Google featured it at Mobile World Congress in 2017. So, okay, so apparently RCS is, let's just call it Text 2.0 without diving too deep into that. So he expects that is going to jump up. By early 2022, he predicts that banks, fintech, and insurance companies will be ramping up RCS as well. Conversational marketing will drive conversational commerce. Your brand should already have an always-on channel and means where your customers can reach out to resolve an issue and ask questions. I'm a big supporter of chat boxes whenever possible. Look, if you're a small internet marketing company, it's not feasible for you to be, having a chat box open at 2 a.m. But this particular person, I think, is referring to Fortune 1,000 companies. Why is this so important? Because in every response, there are breadcrumbs of information that help the brands to enhance their current offerings as well as evolve their customer experience. That's true, of course. But that being said, I mean, like, I'll reach out to one of these large companies and, there might be someone on the line after hours, say 8 o'clock at night, but they don't know what they're doing and they can't solve my problem. And I feel like the vast majority of questions that I tend to ask on chat or this sort of like person-to-person conversational stuff is because it's not on the website. Who are these people that are going onto chat boxes and asking questions that you can just quickly search for on the site? It's mind-boggling to me. It's like every time I call in and they're like, if you'd like our store hours, I'm like, I can find your store hours quicker than it's going to take for you to tell me that these are the store hours. It's ridiculous. Or they're like, you call in the bank and they'll be like, if you want to make a deposit, I know how to make a deposit. That is not why I'm calling you. I don't need to know my account balance. Are you kidding me? Drives me nuts. Then the reason they're doing this, of course, is that so many people call in and this is what they're trying to do when they call in, and they're just absolutely creating a traffic jam on the phones, wasting people's time. Drives me crazy. Successful brands, according to the article, back to it, will use chatbots and AI for more than customer service. So far, my opinion of chatbots is that they suck. I do not like chatbots at all. Every time I interact with the chatbot, I don't think there's been a single positive interaction I've had with a chatbot, because all it is a delay between the time that I'm actually going to talk to someone who can solve my problem, which was what I just talked about before. Like the chatbot's trying to tell me what the hours of operation of the store are. So incredibly stupid. I am not saying chatbots won't get to the point where they can actually help someone, but as it stands today, they're not even close. Brands will adopt a new personalized omni-channel mindset. Buzzwords. The status quo will likely remain unchanged for Google and Facebook. Really? Despite the antitrust and privacy hearings of 2020 and the push for regulation, I believe nothing much will change in 2021. Even with our new government, two giants will continue to be the best bet for brand advertising, so budgets will hold strong. Nipping at the heels, though, are the wireless carriers. Well, I suppose if what he means is largely will remain unchanged, sure, I'll give him that. I think for the first time ever, Google had a quarter where they didn't make as much money. Like they didn't grow their advertising. They had a hit. Facebook did not experience that. Amazon sure as heck didn't. So in the end, they're probably just going to be totally fine in 2021. But we may see a shift in the trend. We may see. As Snapchat gains more market share, LinkedIn pushes it forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when the show is every single day. Streaming live on YouTube, my personal LinkedIn page, the Facebook page for Send It Rising, and my personal Facebook page. Can you believe it? That's a lot of streams. Please do leave a comment. We'd love hearing from you. Let's summarize what we learned today. Are entrepreneurs narcissists? There probably is some sort of correlation between entrepreneurship and narcissism. Are all entrepreneurs narcissists? Of course not. This is clickbait. Does it take a lot of confidence to own your own business? Yeah, I would argue that by and large, there is a strong correlation between confidence and business ownership. That being said, there's a lot of confident people who don't own a business. So it's easy to kind of boil this down and make jokes and listen to Mr. Joel B. Carnival. But at the end of the day, I think that we've all probably had a narcissist boss at some point. So I think it's easy just to like think about that person and go, yeah, they're definitely narcissists. USA Today, LinkedIn gets more like Facebook. Yeah, so they're doing stories now. Great. They're searching LinkedIn. Fantastic. They continue to evolve. Are they ripping off the other social media networks a little bit? Yeah. I don't care. Twitter to start testing voice DMs. Yeah. Okay. So the only difference, I think, is instead of like reading the tweet, you'll hear a voice DM on the news about who said what and when. So not that impressive of new news here. Twitter survived its big hack. Yeah, they survived it. Nobody's talking about it anymore. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to solve these problems in the future. It's almost impossible to secure a website permanently, obviously, as things change. TikTok filing an injunction. It's different than the WeChat lawsuit because it's directly against the government. I think we're just waiting for the election to see what happens with TikTok, honestly. 5 predictions for marketing in 2021. So apparently there's something called RCS, which is like SMS, but better. I think for most small businesses, SMS wasn't even a thing, so who really cares about RCS? And then this guy's making the argument that conversations are going to be a big deal, which I suppose is somewhat true. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for swinging on by the show. We genuinely appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already on the YouTube channel, please do. If you're listening to us on the podcast, hey, we really appreciate you hitting those download buttons. If you want to be real nice, leave us a review. Thanks, everybody. We genuinely appreciate it. Who wants an outro? Talk to you tomorrow.